What goes up must come down. November 9th, 1989. That's the date I recall. The Berlin Wall, it had to fall. No more barriers, no more tears, no more whippings, no more fears. Bloodstained pills, I've forgotten years.
Hello, Darren. How are you doing? Love it to see you.
What's up, buddy?
Can you hear me?
I hear you fine. How about you?
Fantastic, man. It's lovely to see you, my brother. Thank you for making the time for Clusterview. Really appreciate it. So what?
Definitely.
I'm sorry about the delay. What it is for me is that I had hay fever.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Man, I was dying, and then you got your plant theme behind you as well. And I'm like, I thought, you know what? I thought I'd just wear the flowers.
That's what's up, man.
Above my nose in it.
Nah, man, you're good, man.
So, my brother, I just want to ask you, because obviously it's a pleasure to be talking to you, okay? And obviously we'll talk about who you are a bit more, but I just want to find out, what time is it in America right now?
It is officially 5:20, and listen, you good, man. You like a minute early.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Fantastic. And obviously we've all been going through this pandemic. What's that pandemic been like for you? Has it been hard? You know, have you rolled through it? Because a few people I've spoken to have had an absolutely easy time going through it, have enjoyed it. What's it been like for you?
It's a mixed bag, man, because you have I got children, so it's been a real adjustment for them. Which also means there's a big adjustment for us as parents, because you have these kids that's kind of been out socializing, play sports, friends out, and then it just shuts down, you know what I mean? So then now they stuck home, have to adjust. Then you as a parent, you see that too, because you also see that now the energy, man, is not where it should be. They getting depressed, different things. So it's that has been bad, but on the flip side, it's also, man, it's been a blessing, because it also allows you to kind of get to know things about yourself, and also family that you really don't take the time to spend thinking about. So it's been challenging, but at the same time, it's been a blessing.
Yeah, I think it's been great to be able to. I've got kids. I know you've got a young child as well, or young children. So it's been great. A lot of the time, it's just a routine through life. So you kind of miss a lot of their life, and then to be able to, just to talk to them, find out what they're
That's
about.
correct.
That's been great. But I will say that my kids have been on Xbox. They've been pretty addicted to the Xbox. They're quite fit children, but now the Xbox is their life, and they're like Call of Duty. I've got a 7-year-old who wants to play Call of Duty.
Oh man, I have a son, man, that's 12. He's on it right now, man. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not what they're wasting their time on, but that's life. I'd rather they were playing instruments, and a lot of what we're doing with Clusterview is trying to get these kids to think about instruments more. So I'm trying to in fact, my kid is playing instruments now. I'd love him to be more dedicated to it, but that's another story in itself. Now I'm going to tell. Obviously, people don't know right now. Not everyone knows who you are. Now I'm going to give people an idea. Your name is Darren Darby. Okay,
that is correct.
You're the brother of Sananda Maitreyers, whereas in the UK, we all know Sananda Maitreyers more famously as Terence Trent Darby.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Now, I was waiting. Can you do me a favor? Can you help clear up why Terence Trent Darby changed his name to Sananda Maitreyers? Okay, is it anything as unfortunate as the artist formerly known as Prince? And that's a bit of a mouthful in itself. But is it anything as unfortunate as that, or is it something just far more, less obvious?
Well, I mean, Mark, that's a tough one, man. But the reason I say it's tough, because we've already heard some of the things. The reason why he said that it came from a vision, it came from dreams. At one point, he told the press it was a series of dreams that he had that he was awakened, by. But here's the thing, man.
Was that him just being rock and roll? Was that him just being really kind of arty-farty?
Well, I say it like this, man. That's a powerful name, dude. Okay,
absolutely.
It's a powerful name in a spiritual way. So to take something that the world knew, and that you pretty much you grind to get to a point where the world knew who you are and know who you are, and then flip it and change the name to something where nobody knows who that is. Yeah, that is a bit challenging. So to answer your question, man, I say it like this, man. That's a great question, for him if he was to do this interview with you. Now, I have some insight. I would just say kind of like this. Yeah, my brother and I had conversations around the time when he legally changed his name because I was with him, and a lot of it had to do with spiritual, man. And still to this day, he's still dealing, with spiritual issues. So I feel like maybe, it gave him the opportunity to try to redefine himself to find a place that he felt comfortable, I guess, in your own skin. I wouldn't have went the route of doing that, but it's a little deeper than that. It's not just the rock and roll answer that you know what I mean? So yeah, man, because that's a powerful name, dude. You got to understand both of those names, it's a very spiritual name. I'm a very spiritual person. So I can't really, expose why he, really changed that name. But there's another thing too, man. It's kind of like I'm not all into these conspiracies, but there's a lot of people that try to get away from this business for whatever personal reasons. A lot of people to this day, around his era, are no longer here in terms of artists. And they had to fight. They had to fight with the with the labels. And you brought up Prince. Prince situation was because I had this conversation with Prince actually personally. My brother also was there, and a few other band members, and it was a great conversation because it also explained why he did so, and it was a lot about the publishing. It was a lot to do with the rights of him having his music. So with Terrence, we all know too that he was struggling to get off of Sony at the time. I believe it was CBS and Columbia Records for about the first 5 or 6 years of his career. So, he felt under that name, man, that he got burnt. He felt that, he wanted to take on a new identity, things like that. He also had some personal demons he had to deal with. So yeah, I mean,
I hear you, absolutely. And that's obviously that's kind of a bit of a leading question in some ways, and I apologize for that. But the stuff that you said something about being spiritual. And that now takes me to another question, okay? All right. I prepared. And that's, a lot of, that's coming down from the fact that you're the son of a pastor. You and Terence are the sons of pastors, aren't you? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it is. That's true.
And I find that, obviously, I don't know about the UK. I mean, we have an artist called Donny who again is the son of a pastor. You've got Wycliffe, you've got Marvin Gaye. So you're following a line of very famous pastors. What is that all? What's that about? Why is that there's this kind of correlation where these great talents happens to be the sons of pastors? Is that what you have to be to be a great artist in America? You've got to be son of a pastor.
Now, I want to ask you this question, man. Where's Alice Cooper from?
I don't know. You have to tell me what Texas. Where's he from?
No, I don't know if Alice Cooper is. I don't know if he's English.
He's American, isn't he? Alice Cooper. Is he not American?
He may be, but the reason I brought him up because he's a son of a pastor. Denzel Washington, the son of a pastor. Sam Cooke is a son of a pastor. No, man, I think what it is, man, is that really you think about music and you think about I guess where it comes from, or the beat, the heartbeat, you think about the rhythm of things. So when you look at a person that's a pastor, the whole point of being a pastor is really to try to lead a person to hear the good news, to hear the word of God. So when you are growing up in that environment, it can be challenging because as a kid, most of the kids in your area or your neighborhood, parents are not, pastors or in terms of the church like that. So you tend to feel like you miss out on certain things, musical experiences, things like that. So when you do get to, I guess, indulge, and especially in music, man, so you think about music itself in the church, is a big order, is a big thing. So musicians, it's not a surprise that a lot of the musicians, big musicians, even Hall of Fame musicians come from out of the church. So it's not a surprise that you get artists that are parents or pastors or deacons or things like that, man. But in terms of my family, my dad, My mom's is a gospel singer. So that's really where it all started from. From my mom, her singing, she was in a group coming up, a gospel group. Her dad was a pastor, and my dad was completely far from a pastor. but yeah, man, I hope that kind of answered that, man, because really
Well, there's a very gospel, there's a gospel feel to the music of, Terence Trent Darby's music. I felt it. I knew it. I can hear it in the music.
Oh yeah, man.
Did that add to the popularity of his sound, you feel?
Oh, definitely, because you had that first album. Even look how he was dressed when he was on. I think
we talk about the first album. We talk about the hard line according to Terence Darby.
Okay. The hard line according, yeah. I mean, his first video, he had like this suit on, this kind of like almost like a church scene or something. He was on stage with the tambourine doing his thing.
Exactly. So, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, think about James Brown, man. James Brown, similar. So yeah, church, the whole thing, the shouting, the joy, the jubilation, the spirit of happiness, man. I mean, so definitely you hear that in this music. Definitely hear it in this music.
What I feel in his voice, I felt that basically I still feel like he was chastising me and soothing me with his voice. That's kind of how like a pastor would.
Yeah, but I guess that goes from if you grew up, man, like
he raised his voice really high, exactly. And he comes down really gentle.
You know what? I've never really even thought about it that way, but I guess that would be the kind of the experience of seeing that perform every Sunday, seeing that performance, every Sunday, or with other preachers growing up, because that is, man. I mean, that's our culture, man. That's like even you think about when you say church, all these different religions. I mean, they just religions. I mean, God don't really He doesn't have a religion. So it's a standard that he has, man. It's a way of life. It's a way he expects us to be. So all this, all these different religions is one thing, but the way we celebrate God is kind of like the same. And then even in our music, what I mean, it can be gospel music, it can be secular music, even the beats you hear in a lot of music, man, like Kirk Franklin. You know what I'm saying? You hear a lot of his stuff. Come on, man. A lot of that stuff, you take some of those beats, like, oh man, I remember this beat, this was a OJ's beat, or this was a Staples, Staple single, I mean, things like that, man. But so the church is gonna always play a great part in our music, and pastors, man, are like leaders in our community. So when you got these pastors that's leading in these communities, when you got a gospel singer that finally made it or making it, they're going to portray the things, man, that they've seen, the leaders they've seen in their community. So I think that, that's a great influence. I mean, even the speakers, man, like, you look at Dr. King, Malcolm X, they, both of their fathers was pastors. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't even know that. So, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had no idea. It says so much, though. It says so much about the strength of the community, what's driving that. And I believe, had that never changed, because I think, when you think about hip hop music and you think about a lot of what happened in Chicago with the drugs coming in, you do know about it, how the effect of the drugs on the community. Had that not happened, had that not destabilized the Black community, who knows what would happen? Because when you're talking about these people, these characters are very strong characters. The community would have never got to the point where you see it today, where there's gangs and there's crime. I'm talking about here.
Oh, no, definitely. But it's designed that way, man. That's part of the whole system. That's why this summer was super important, and not just this summer, even current, because you think about Chicago. You brought up Chicago. Actually, Chicago is a city that I was born in. Dude, I mean, I almost lost my life in Chicago before I was even 2 years old, by gunshot violence in a church. So you know what I mean? That's a whole nother story, but then it's scary. Again, I'm gonna say this one more time. I almost lost my life to gun violence in a church in Chicago. Wow. So the thing is, man, when you think about the area in Chicago, there's only really a small range, meaning not a huge area based on the size of the city. But then you also got where these drugs and where this stuff is coming from. All right, now we got one of the biggest drug dealers in the world in terms of whoever this was, Chapo, whoever the guy name was.
Yeah, El Chapo.
You know, El Chapo. Now, this guy, you know what I mean, is in Mexico, whatever. Now, how these guns and drugs, he had a huge organization going on in Chicago. Now, this has all been documented.
Yeah,
So this ain't
absolutely.
something
Yeah.
that, you know. So, but the point is that how does someone that big, that powerful, we know, get that stuff from there, jump all these other states into this black area?
Oh,
You know what I'm
wow.
saying?
Wow. Yeah. Unhindered.
So you know, come on, man. You know what I mean? So it's set up, it is set up that way and designed that way, you know what I mean, to destroy us, man. You know what I mean? And we, you know, you think about too, we got an issue right now that's going on in America about people going back to work, right? People don't want to go back to work because they're getting more money sitting home from the government. And I get it, but the point is that in order to get these people back to work, you should possibly pay them a little bit more, you know what I mean, so they can have a better living wage.
Oh yeah, of course, makes sense.
You know, so man, you know, again, that's a whole nother issue as well. But when it comes to the drugs and the violence, man, I'm 20 minutes away from a town called Daytona Beach.
I've heard of it.
Daytona Beach is where MTV used to be, man. It jumped off. It was a lot of cool things going on. Now, I just, you know, just discovered or read the other day, that city is basically #1 in terms of crime per capita in the state of Florida. Now, again, these are people, these are tourist people come in, man. So a lot of crimes, a lot of things that come in these towns in America, or at least a lot of these so-called black towns, I feel like, man, they kind of let in. You know what I mean? To where you go to other towns, you go to places like you know what I mean, Palm Beach, you know, Mar-a-Lago, you can't get in there, man. They got like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a different, things are set up differently around here, man. And it's sad. It's sad. And you see it. And that's what part of this fight is about.
It's very sad. And I hear it in the music. That's the thing, I hear it in the music. The artists and all the new artists coming through, you know, was it the Black Puma? The new band called the Black Puma. You hear the struggle. You know, it's a battle, it's a struggle. Why? I just think, why does it always have to be this struggle and this battle within the black community? You know, and here in the UK, we kind of we want to emulate a lot of what we see over there. But don't get me wrong, I'm really happy to see the Black Pumas because I love the fact that they're playing instruments, they're playing guitars. So I know that's going to be a great influence to the public, to, you know, especially over here, you know, because that's kind of coming from where I started off as an artist, playing guitar.
I mean, really, man, it's sad because even when I was growing up, when there was a group called In Living Color, and they were
In Living Color. Come on, man, we all know In Living Color over here.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they didn't really get the shine that they should have gotten. They were a great band. You know what I'm saying? But again, these are brothers playing instruments. So it's kind of like the image of brothers playing instruments. You know, it's almost like, hey, guys, stay in your place. Well, first of all, we started, you know what I mean? That started with us. Okay, rock and roll, you know, that started with us. Again, you talk about music in the church, that started with us. So at the end of the day, you can't, you know, you shouldn't put music in a box. But what's happening today for me, man, I look at a lot of the music that we are putting out, it's the same because it's coming from the same place. You know, if you have the same people trying to, you know, kind of controlling the narrative, then what you're going to end up getting is the same message of music. So when you have the artists like Prince, Terence, you know what I mean, that basically struggle to get their freedom from these labels, things like that, man. You know what I mean? Like Prince was one of the first artists, you know, to offer music streaming online. You know what I mean? To buy music online, the first artist. You know, so the whole thing is about that, man. It's kind of like a lot of the rappers, a lot of the hip hop. Even the energy, it's dark, man. You know what I mean? When we were, you know, when I was growing up, when you were growing up, hip hop artists, you know, they sung about, they gave a message about their surroundings. You know what I mean? It was positive. It was like, you know, it was like, hey, you know, I wanna show the positivity of what this is about, or at least you giving a story, you telling the story on behalf of the people that couldn't tell that story. So it was intriguing. You know what I mean? You wanted to hear more. You know what I'm saying? To nowadays, man, I mean, you got, #1 songs, man, coming by Lil Nas X and all these other cats, man. I'm sorry to say it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but that's where the energy's at. And for me, that's not what, that's not portraying the energy that I personally grew up on in terms of what hip hop should be about.
Well,
You also,
the positive energy and the positive image of Black people. I like to call everyone brothers, sisters, whether they're Black, whether they're white, whether they're green. To me, everyone's my brother and my sister. And that's the kind of positive energy that you want to be putting out there. That's what we got to do more of. So the music it's something that actually, we know the power of music. So it's about being careful with that. With great power comes great responsibility. And the one thing Black people are great at is making music.
Yeah, I agree.
You're a guy involved in music yourself. Now, I want to ask you yourself directly, how did you become, because you're the younger brother of Terence Trent Darby, or Sananda Maitreyers, as we all know now. How did you get to become his manager? I mean, you're the younger brother. How did you get to become his manager? I mean, that's crazy.
Well, man, first I started out as a gopher, we call it, as a do boy, man. I was young. I was in college, and I ended up calling my brother, and he offered me a job. Like, hey, man, you just come learn, just do whatever. And I did. This was in 1992, and I did that run with him. Did some world tours with him. We toured on. I joined him when we were doing the Symphony of Damn tour. And that was, 92. And yeah, man, so from there, I just kind of grew. And, when he's kind of going through the situation with Sony, through those years, I was still by his side. I moved to Los Angeles. I became his personal assistant. And then when we, in 2000, he was finally given the release of a project that he's been, been trying to, get out through a label called Java Records that was through Capitol Records. And that project we took to Europe. We took it to Germany, to Munich, Germany. And we did a deal with, it was Universal, it was the gas territories. So that put me in a different responsibility in terms of his business. So now I became more of his front person, his front man, his manager. And that's not the thing too. It was kind of tough, man, because the thing about my brother, he always wanted to have this, his independence. So having somebody or having someone now, that's called his manager, it was also kind of new for him to adjust. So it was not something that he wanted to adjust to. But at the end of the day, you can't be the artist and the manager. And if you are going to be the artist and the manager, which it can't be done, then you got to be willing to get on that phone and be willing to take, whatever criticism or willing and dealing that you have to do. And my brother wasn't willing to do all that. So I became, thrush in that particular position until we even took the album to Italy. And we did a deal with Universal Italy. And yeah, man, so that's, so from...
Is that, what album was that? Was that the Vibrator album?
No, Vibrator album was, so actually there was the, first album was Introducing, Hard
What about the Wild Card? You get the Wild Card. Was that the third or the second?
No, the Wild Card was the fifth album. You had Neither Fish, either Neither Fish Nor Flesh.
Yeah, Fish Nor Flesh. That's it.
Now a lot of folks, man, Neither Fish Nor Flesh. That album, man, believe it or not, launched a whole sound.
Because I want to cut you there, because obviously for the audience, I wanted to know what happened, because the first album, songs like Wish and Well, that, Hey Little Sister, I mean, that stuff, that was what the public knows Terence Trent Darby for. It was almost as if he dropped off the radar with the second album. What happened with the second album? Why did that not do as well? You're talking about that spearheaded a whole new sound, but why did it not do so well publicly?
Well, man, it's a lot of stuff, man, meaning that this is a cutthroat business. I'll say it like this, okay? Maybe he don't tell a story, but I'll say this much. My brother was signed with Sony. Michael Jackson was signed with Epic, okay? Terrence sold reportedly about close to 14 million. We later found out it was close to 18 million, okay? Now, at the same time, that second album sold maybe close to 3 to 4 million. So that's a huge drop from, let's say, 14 to 4, 14 to 3, or whatever. That's a flop in a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
But then
It's
anybody
still
today
huge.
sell
It's
that.
still huge.
It is. But now, here's the thing, man. Michael had an album coming out. I don't know if it was the Bad album. I forgot which one it was. So, there was speculation, or that was basically, it was said that, hey, we need all resources and everything put on my project. So this young kid, Terrence, kind of like, hey man, let's pump the brakes a little bit. All right. I need all resources on this project. I don't know if it was jealousy. I don't know what it was. You know what I mean? Maybe it was just a business move. You know what I'm saying? So when you got a new somebody coming like on the block that's kind of like this blazing it, and you've been that cat for so long, maybe that's a little bit of animosity, maybe there's a little bit of jealousy. I don't know. So the resources, man, the support was not really put in that second album. You know what I mean? But also too, let's keep this in mind as well. There was also a situation with the radio in terms of promotion. You had let's just call it like this, black radio, and then rock radio. They were going back and forth, like saying, hey, this guy is this. I mean, he's our Sam Cooke, he's this. But then you had this other part saying, no, man, this guy is bigger than that. He's not just R&B. And that caused some friction in there where they didn't even really know how to promote him within the label itself. So it threw them really off when he came with that second project, So that was the Neither Fish Nor Flesh album. Then you had the Symphony of Damn album. That album did very well as well, man. That album, it charted. That album charted. That album got it charted here in America in the top, top 150 or something. I don't know. It topped in the UK. Then you had that's also the album where Desiree, I believe Desiree the singer, was introduced around that time. Then you had, after that album, you had Vibrator album. That was a very good album, man. I'm featured a song on that album. You had that album also, did pretty well. That was the last album that he did on a label. After that, it was the Wild Card album. That was the album that was launched on his independent record, called Sananda Records, that we started. And it was called Sananda Maitreyers, Terence Trent Darby, Joker's Edition, Wild Card. Wild Card, Joker's Edition. And the reason it was like that, man, because he had this name, Terence Trent Darby, that was famous. And then this new name, Sananda Maitreyers, that he wanted to introduce to everybody. And it was, we had our moments, man, where we kind of had, it was like, yo, you got to use this name Terrence, because you cannot, allow yourself to the promoters to try to promote something without, using a name that they can sell. So that's where the ending of Terrence and the beginning of Sananda, the Wild Card, Joker's Edition, kind of started. So yeah, that was his fifth album, man. So yeah, that's kind of the history of those previous albums.
Well, for all the audience hearing, they'll be blown away to hear that, because a lot of people will not know that detail. And so thank you for sharing it with us. It's very important. I'm going to go back to that question as well at some point. So I want to get back to that, because I want to talk about Prince and all that stuff and what happened later on. But you talked about that track, the second album, influencing Fish Nor Flesh, influencing certain acts. Could you go more into that?
Well, yeah, I heard something, or I was reading something where they were talking about the history of different sounds in different areas. And one person brought up that made a lot of sense. They were talking about like 9 Inch Nails, Nirvana, the Foo Fighters, later. I think they were part of the Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, certain groups, Alice in Chains, these Seattle bands, whatever, that whole Northwestern thing, to where a lot of those sounds were Terrence's album, Neither Fish Nor Flesh, was a psychedelic type of pop, rock, funk. So yeah, man. So seeing that, I was like, that was kind of blown away, because I thought about it and I went to go listen to the album again. I'm like, you know what? It makes sense. But that's how music is, man. I mean, you look at Jimi Hendrix, think about Jimi. Jimi had to cross the water, man, to really be appreciated more, for his sound and creativity.
Absolutely. And that was a travesty, to be fair, that he had to come to the UK because the people in America did not like or accept his music. That's mad.
Yeah. Because, man, again, they want to see these brothers. Now, let me just keep it real, bro. They want to see these brothers in this small box. Listen, you go into a record store, if they still exist, or even any supermarket, any super whatever you call it, that sell albums. They got an R&B section that's this small, okay? And then you got the pop rock that's just all over the place. So why in the world would you want to just be in this little small box R&B? You know what I mean? So they want to keep us in these little categories, these little boxes. They don't, you know what I mean? When I say they, just meaning whoever's controlling the narrative of what we put out. And that's why you get so much struggle, man, you know, in terms of artists trying to, you know, get creative and you know, do their things. But at the same time, you can only go so far because, you know, you got to do it yourself. Like this guy named Chance the Rapper.
Darren, I understand. I agree. I found myself that to be the case. Okay. So for example, you know, I know personally that there's certain kind of elements of the music industry that are like, you know, they don't want more than one black person on the radio at the same time. Okay. But how did that work out? How did that work out for the likes of Prince, Lenny, and Michael Jackson and Terence Trent Darby? How did that work out for all of them together? Because that would have been difficult because he had some of the greatest artists on the planet. And we're talking about insane artists. I mean, when your brother came out, he was a monster. You know that, you know, in terms of how so that would have shook things up, as you talked about, in the industry. The power he was achieving, the effect he was having on the industry and all that kind of stuff. How did that work out for all those artists at the same time? Did you see any of that going on where the industry was like trying to just shut them down and let one artist only have one artist on the radio?
Yeah. I mean, right now the female hip hop game, it's always been that way. You know, I was watching the billboards or whatever it was the other night, and I think her name is, you know what is it? Mega the Stallion, whatever her name, you know, something like that. You know. Anyway, she's on top right now, man. And it was like, it's, you know, sad because there's a female rapper, black female rapper, there can never be, you know, two. It always has to be one. So going back to those times, you got to think, man, that was Michael Jackson. Then there was Prince. Prince was an alternative to Michael. Michael gave you what he gave you. Prince was like, you know, dare to do different things, you know what I mean? You know, dare to be different in terms of his sounds and his image. And then you had young guy coming with these, you know, braids, whatever, you know, not dreads at the beginning, but braids, doing these Jane Brown splits and singing like Sam Cooke. So you like, okay, hold on a second.
But he was a proper rock star. He was a proper rock star. But he was a proper rock star, your brother.
Yeah. No, he was, man, too. But here's the thing, too. Now, he comes from the UK. So, oh, man, come on, man. Hey, actually, that was a song. He, driving me crazy. But no, man, the thing is, man, is that he also represented at the time the UK, even though he's American.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
UK, right. So you got this. So that's also a little bit of friction right there. So now you got this Prince, you know, you got Michael Prince, now you got Terence. So Lenny, man, really, Lenny benefited from the lack of knowledge or the lack of or let me say, like, Lenny basically filled the vacuum or replaced Terence because they didn't really know how to promote Terence. You know what I mean? When you got this guy sitting there, man, again, voice of an angel, doing, you know, dancing, you know, doing all this and that. And so it was like he had the look. It was like, yo, who is this kid? So what Lenny did, man, understand that a lot of people don't know this story right here, okay?
This is not a test. Information is power. Information is power. This is not a test. Information is power. Information is power. Yo, you better go read up on it, man. It's the master plan. They get microchips for the head and the hand. replacing credit cards for the money, man. It's the mark of the beast. Better describe in the biblical land. Open up your eyes. You better see what it is.
My brother was signed with a management company called Lippman Entertainment, Michael Lippman, and his office was in Beverly Hills. Right next door to his office in the same building was Virgin Records. And at the time, the person that ran or was A&R, head of A&R, I believe at that time was Sylvia Rome. Sylvia Rome signed Janet Jackson. She signed In Vogue. She also signed a young Lenny Kravitz. So my understanding, she saw the infight, saw the struggle that they had with Terence, because they did not want to release this guy because they understood what they had, but they didn't do anything for him. So when Lenny jumped on the scene, that was perfect, man, because you got this black guy doing rock and he was allowed to do it. Terence, for whatever reason, was not allowed to rock out. They wanted Terence to stay the Sam Cooke, the Marvin Gaye. So Lenny really benefited. Now, you know, there's other stories too, man, you know, about sabotage. You know,
but it's like there can only be one. All I'm hearing is the Highlander. There can only be one.
That's it, man. There's can only be one captain on that ship at the moment, man.
Wow.
And
but it's only sad. but that's preserved for black people. Our black brothers and sisters, you know, that's not something you see in any other, as you know, you talked about the pop rock. It's only black people who go through that struggle where literally that we're fighting against each other to have something so small. It's crazy.
And look at the Rat Pack. Look at the Rat Pack, I think is what you call it. You had one brother, you know what I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. While you had, you know, who you had, Dean Martin. You had Frank Sinatra. You know, you had the other gentleman, but whoever, you had these guys were allowed to be the front man, but you're gonna have one black. That's the business, man. I mean, even on the hip hop game, when you had the hip hop game, you were talking about, you know, Kendrick Lamar at one point. You couldn't talk about J. Cole. Then when Kendrick Lamar fizzed out, J. Cole is back on the scene. You know what I mean? So it's that's how it is, man, and it's sad. But at the same time, I really believe like this. We have to personally, you know, we first of all own our music, man, and make sure we control our music. But when we get to a point, we get to be as big as we are, then we should start setting the platforms for these young black artists. You know, learning how to, you know, how to rock out, learning how to play the guitar, learning how to, you know, play instruments, learning how to write. So this way, they feel they want to keep the ownership and understand the value of their music and not just rushing to put out something because they want to, you know, be famous and this and that. They understand that the business of the music, you know. And even people like Quincy Jones, man, I say, you know, I mean, you know, there's a lot of trailblazers, there's a lot of cats out there that, you know, that have help, but I feel like they could have, you know, can still some more things can be done, you know what I mean? There's things that can be done better. So hey, man, you know, generation 2, man, things are definitely not the same, man.
But you know, we'll get there. The point is, we will get there. I believe that we're working through all this stuff, and the fact that we're like Clusterviews, we're uncovering a lot of this stuff. We're having great conversations with people like yourself. People are watching this stuff. They're going to watch it more, and they're going to understand that this is a journey that we can win. It's something that we can win at the end of the day. It's a positive journey. It's not a negative journey. It's a positive journey.
I agree 100%.
But I want to talk something now about yourself, because you sent me some music from your own album, Mother Planet. And when I heard that, I was blown away. I mean, this is becoming a familiar pattern for me. I'm hearing this music from artists that hasn't been released, but it's so awesome. I'm asking, why didn't this stuff get released? And I'm based on our conversation, I can see that in the end of the day, the industry it's not always as prosperous or as nice or as positive as it ought to be. So there are real reasons for that. But why didn't you release that Mother Planet album? It's fantastic. And one last thing before you jump in, I love that last track with the distortion. You know, you got like a track, the last track, just pure distortion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah, because man, it was man, the project started out as a favor. Let me not get into it, you know me, I spent too much time, let me jump right into it. I was putting together a band for my brother for a tour that we were doing in Europe. And one of the musicians that was a guitar player, and after the tour finished, he wanted to try, the music business himself as a front man. So he asked me to help. So he asked me, hey man, can you come down? I said, listen, I help you with whatever way you need me. If I'm free, I help. So he's like, hey man, can you come down and rap something for me? I'm like, rap something for you. I'm like, nah. So I was like, okay, whatever, man. I'll put together something. So as I was going down on the train from Milan down to a place called Rimini, I started writing, and from that, it went into another track. We went to that track, those two tracks, well, one track got to Germany. It got to this producer that used to be with Sony Records. So he asked me, hey man, could you come and do this another song for me? So anyway, man, we ended up doing another song. That song turned out to be a full project. From that full project, I had a buddy of mine who's also a business partner of mine right now. Excuse me. His name is Ibani. And I had him fly over. Yeah, man, he's a great guy, man. Great musician, great guy. And that's the cool thing about, Clusterview as well, because there's a lot of connections, man, when it comes to musicians, artists. We talked about Prince, we talking about my brother. But anyway, so he came over, he mixed the album for us, and I was so happy with the product. So this is what happened, man. I ended up coming back to America to shop that project, okay? And there was another producer friend of ours, and he wanted to take the project and and redo some things with the project. At that moment, the project was done. Now we had this project was going out to different labels, and the feedback was coming back was awesome. Okay, now me being in the business, I understood exactly how this thing worked. But I was also willing to take myself back and just be an artist and lead the business for somebody else. So I hired a manager, and from a pretty famous guy and well-known guy. He had some series of books and different things. Friend of the family, and set up some things. Anyway, man, the band itself, when things started to kind of get explode, get out there, ego started to play effect. The band members, man, honestly, it was 3 Italian guys and me. We put together this project from the love of music, man. We enjoy doing music. So we had these different sounds, we had these different influences, funk, hip hop, rock.
Which I felt, I felt that.
Yeah, man. We had a song, the first one, one of the first songs we did together was called Got Me to the Bone. And that song, man, is so funky, so, so rocky. You know what I mean? And so then you hear my voice coming in and certain things, and then a lot of project, a lot of writing. I did a lot of writing on it. So it was all influences, man, from I would say from my upbringing, my brother, my mom. I'm a huge Bob Marley fan, Mother Planet, So yeah, man, the project, man, and so I just say, you know what? If we can't get this project out the way it should be, it should. Then I'm just going to shelf it. Now, my other partner in the band, he went on a solo. He kind of went solo, and he tried his hand on the solo route, and it didn't have the same effect. But I thought about, man, re-releasing this album because it's a good album, man. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it because it's it's my project. It's just, I'm happy about what I've done.
Hey, come on, girl, bounce off. Let me see what you got for me. Now I wanna go home. Why you call me? Do you like it? I'm on knees. I'm already satisfied. It's better move on. You don't understand how good it feels to be without you. I know you want to change my mind, but there's no right. No. I threw wear my tiny shoes, got me some brand new leather boots. I'm better off staying by myself to make sure I'm fine and keep you off my mind. But you better move on. Now I'm going, pick a magazine, duty on my own, just to calm down.
You know, I don't know if you heard the other things too, man. I sent you some other stuff too. This German artist, his name is Sasha Korn, and that was absolutely mad because you got this cat that's sitting there rapping in pure German, and I'm coming in there, man. You know what I mean? You know, with a completely different flip of hip hop in terms of the sound.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that, so I wasn't able to open it.
All right, well, I'm gonna make sure I get that over to you, man.
What goes up must come down. November 9th, 1989. That's the date I recall. The Berlin Wall, it had to fall. No more barriers, no more tears, no more whippings, no more fears. Bloodstained pills, I've forgotten years. Fight for freedom, I can feel. Shackling in the dark, done disappear. I pride my strength between the ears. Insane thoughts and past the years. Poetic justice, liberation, cheers.
I can't tell you how thankful I am to have had this opportunity to talk to you, okay? But can I put some of those the music that you're going to send me? Can I put some of that into this interview? Can I put it into it when I?
Oh man,
so the public
definitely, man,
themselves and get a feel, because I love the Mother Planet is what I've heard. So I can't talk for the other stuff because I've not heard it yet. But the Mother Planet blew me away. So can I
please
put some of that?
Please do, man.
Came to bless this track by way on the train. Ain't no joke, I don't play no games. I got friends all over the globe, man. I'm from the dirty south, but we don't play. But my brother's grills shine just like clay, cause down here, we all bad to the bone. And you fucking with me, you catch this crone. It's the boogeyman, bitch, smack down, you gone. We got hustlers and pimps, pimped out rides, candy color paint, bucket seats inside. This is Florida, boy, where babies are made. Switch to sweet blunts and plenty of shade.
Ain't a fucking city.
I gotta be real, I gotta stay on the grind.
It's gonna blow down.
Please do, yo, listen, please do, man. I mean, and while you doing it, just to kind of give a brief introduction of that project, it was 13 tracks. Like I said, it's four members in the band. There's Nico, there's Ronnie, there's Terry, and then there's myself, Darren. So yeah, I hope they enjoy it, man. You know what I mean? I really do.
They will. I absolutely love it. But my brother, Darren, also says thank you so much once again. Absolute pleasure. You're giving us an insight into a part of our history that we just didn't know about. I feel absolutely honored.
Man, listen, I had to tell you, man, because there's a lot of stuff here. I wanted at least at least let people hear me, man, and understand, my point of view on things. Not just that. I mean, there's a lot of rumors, a lot of things out there people put out there that you really just can't, just let stuff just go through, man. You know what I mean? End of the day. So no, I'm about good energy, man, and passing on. So no, definitely, man. I enjoyed everything that we talked about today, and I'm hoping, man, that we can continue this conversation some other time, bro.
Definitely. But I want to say you've got your brother's back, man. Respect for that. Because that's the whole point. Not everyone knows what he would have been through as an artist. And so coming from you, it's genuine. Now that's the point for me, is being able to have that conversation, and I really wanted to, and I can't tell you how privileged I feel to have this opportunity. So thanks from Clusterview once again. Have a wonderful night. Okay, it's not even a night, it's actually about 6 o'clock now for you, isn't it? 6 o'clock.
Yes, man.
For me, it's 11 o'clock, so I'm gonna sort my eyes out. My eyes are stinging. But look,
I feel you, brother. I wish you well, man.
Have a wonderful night. God bless you. Bye-bye.